everyone. We are so thrilled to be here with you today. So great to see all of you who come live. Like that just warms our hearts so much. And it's also so lovely to get to be with those of you who are watching via recording in the eternal now. When we come together like this, we amplify our divinity and we all get to experience the beauty and the blessing of that.
So great to see you all. As more and more trickling in, we're welcoming everybody into the soul field. And so we'll start by lighting our candles. And as we light our candles, we are setting the intention to release what you don't need to bring into the field right now. You can just leave it in the temple of divine perfection to be transmuted, recycled, or held if you want to. And so as you're releasing that and bringing your entire consciousness here in this moment, in the soul field with all of us here together.
Mm-hmm.
Let yourself feel the embrace, the joy that the soul field brings. Mm.
As you're landing and you're feeling that connection, take a moment, just make contact with your own breath. Really feel the breathing and let that bring you into the body more fully. And as you're coming into this now moment, just feel into what's here. What are you bringing with you into the soul field experience today? Any intentions or desires? Anything that's needing or wanting support? Just notice what's with you and what you want to place on the altar, so to speak. And as you're coming into open eyes, if you'd like to say the prayer with us, we'll speak our opening prayer. We come with grateful, reverent, and open hearts to drink from the deep well of our eternal nature. As we dive into the soul field together, we are held in a sacred and holy embrace by the source of all love, light, and grace. In this eternal now, we actively invoke each of our unique pathways to source and the beings of love light that support our evolving. We allow our mind, body, spirit to expand into the holy realms where magic and miracles are commonplace. As we minister to ourselves, we minister to one another and our family humanity. We recognize we are one in the holy wholeness. We allow all we do here today to ripple out through our lives as a living witness of divine grace for the benefit of all our relations.
Venimos con corazones agradecidos, reverentes y abiertos a beber del pozo profundo de nuestra naturaleza eterna. A medida que nos sumergimos juntos aquí en el campo del alma, somos sagradamente acogidos por una fuente de todo amor, luz y gracia divina. En este ahora eterno, pedimos que se abran nuestros caminos hacia el Creador, juntos con los seres de amor y luz que apoyan nuestra evolución divina. Permitamos que nuestra mente, cuerpo y espíritu se expandan hacia los reinos sagrados, donde la magia y los milagros ocurren constantemente. A medida que atendemos nuestras propias necesidades, asimismo atendemos el uno al otro y a toda nuestra familia humana, reconociendo que somos uno en la totalidad sagrada. Permitamos que todo lo que se haga aquí hoy continúe fluyendo en nuestras vidas como un testimonio vivo de la gracia divina para el beneficio de todos. Every time it just grounds this prayer. Like, it makes a lot more sense every time.
If you'd like, before we sort of dive in, fully today. You can take a minute and type in the chat what it is that showed up in that initial listening, what it is that the desire or the yearning is, what is being placed on the altar today, etc., if you'd like, so that we all can hold each other. We're all holding each other anyway, but this is just a way for us to more consciously hold one another and to maybe go like, oh, I want that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a moment to, if you're watching this in the recording, to maybe journal what is here today. What is it that you need to bring today and bring for us to hold and the soul field to hold?
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, just as everyone's typing there, there's just such an affirmation. And for those of you watching via recording, such an affirmation, like a total yes. Yeah.
Mm.
We're starting a new series today. Yay. And this series is grounding the esoteric, living our divinity, the frequency of our divinity, literally living the frequency of our divinity in the body and in the everyday, or what we might call the more mundane aspects of life. And so we're going to, over the course of this series, unpack various different things. Today, we're just going to kind of overview it. And we're going to unpack how do we do that more fully and bring support to you on that journey.
Yeah. So we'll start with an affirmation, right? Is that
Mhm.
correct, Luminary?
Yes, yes. Our new
Good.
affirmation is going to be put on the screen, and the image that is sort of holding out the energetic of what we're working with. And as a reminder, you can tap at the thymus while we're doing the affirmation. Make sure the legs are uncrossed, or you can do the ear rub with the affirmation. And so I'll speak, and you and Nancy will repeat. I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty.
I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty.
I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I open to the sacred pearl of my divinity.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I invoke my 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional light bodies to fully illuminate my biospiritual system.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
I rejoice and delight in my angelic embodiment.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty.
Eternal wisdom reshapes my life into ever expanding beauty. Mm. Mm. Yes.
Whoa.
Mm.
Can you
Mm.
feel that there's sacred stillness happening in your body temple? Yeah, this is deep remembrance.
Mm.
Feels like that needs a pause. Wow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we're holding all of the messages that you put on the chat
Mhm.
and the eternal now, all of the messages you wrote on your journals.
Yeah.
We're holding all of that for you.
So part of the inspiration that Nancy and I had for this series is that literally there has been a shift in our etheric realms wherein we have greater and more ease-filled access to our higher dimensional selves and to the sacred truth that those carry with them. And so there's this sense of really wanting to support that, both calling that in and bringing that in, and also grounding that. And this transformation in the more subtle realms happened at the beginning, towards the beginning of February. And we've seen some things happening for ourselves and our clients, and probably even somewhere in the outer world since then. And so, excuse me, you may be noticing some of these things also, right? So you may notice that there's an energy of empowerment that's coming online. You may notice that you have access, like when you're meditating, you might find like, oh, I'm accessing, like, oh, I feel that so much. There's this quality of veils dropping. So you might be seeing yourself and your life more clearly. Your life may be reorganizing in support of you coming into greater connection with who you really are. And you may be having like detox of the old, right? Old energy may be falling away, whether that's physically, like you might be moving things physically. That's been me in a really big way. You might, your relationships might be changing like this.
Mm. I don't know if you have experienced this, but there's a sense of clarity where before there was a bit of confusion, like we had a veil that wouldn't let us see, but now it's like things are just becoming more and more clear. And
Mm.
I'm not saying perfectly clear, there's still some veils
Mhm.
around, but it seems like a lot of the big ones are being dropped, and we're now seeing, oh, all of these opportunities, but also is showing us, oh, we are a different person too. And how do we live in this world when we are resonating like this? And our energetic system is also changing and is shifting in order to adapt to this new vibration. So we're either letting go of illnesses or ailments, or we're going through them, um, or we are just finally experiencing healing. We're definitely shifting at many levels, from the DNA, energetics, to mindset, clarity, and our interactions with everyone around us. And when we start facing the world in this way, it's very it's very easy to go back to old patterns because those are familiar. It's very easy to go back to the way that we used to do things because being in this new way is uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar, and we don't have a lot of information. And so the series is about, how do we live with this new vibration? How do we live in this new way? How do we attend to our needs? And how do we get to know ourselves in this new state, in this new way of living?
Yeah. Yeah, and so we're gonna kind of unpack some of these, but we're gonna kind of bullet point some of the things that we're gonna talk about over the course of this series. So one is about the importance of it, like intentionally calling forth those higher dimensions of ourselves. You saw that in the affirmation. I call forth my 10th, 11th, 12th dimensional self, and rejoicing in the angelic embodiment, like to really call that in and ground that in our bodies. And we're going to start that in the meditation today. When we do that, it starts to dissipate those places of separation where trauma or cultural orientations, false holographic energetics have kept us separate. And so it starts to like diminish. And, we talked about that, like the veil is, it starts to like separate that out. And there's this ability where we might have otherwise felt ourselves like in some ways allergic to life, having a hard time being here. When our soul and our light comes in more fully, it makes it much more easy for us to be here. But our tendency when there's trauma and like that is to leave. And so like this series is about like, okay, let's bring us here. Let's bring us all the way here. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that requires that we remember who we are, number one. Hmm. And some of you have rediscovered who you are, and some of us require to still discover who we truly are. And in this series, we'll explore in depth each of those parts. Today, we're going to give you sort of like the the outline of what we'll be going into deeper. But we want to explain how this came about and why this is happening or how this is happening. And so honoring who we are means that we understand how we interact with the world. We understand what affects us and what doesn't affect us. Because if I grew up in an environment that was toxic, I get used to that. And once I start sort of liberating myself from my conditioning and I start honoring the spiritual being that I am, this toxic environment is no longer supportive of my life. And so at a conscious level, we need to do something about the environment. But at the spiritual level, we also need to know how to honor that person that we are. How do we take care of ourselves? How to listen? How to ask for support? How to connect to the resources and support that we need
Mhm.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we are all here as spiritual beings, and there are different types of spiritual beings. We're up to different things. And knowing that, like knowing what kind of spiritual being you are, and therefore what kind of special things you need to support your being who you are here is really crucial. And as we move into the experience of like calling ourselves here more, as Nancy was saying, we do need to look at like how are we supporting ourselves to live that, to let that really be alive here. What different things do we need to maybe do in our lives? And we'll get into more about that. The other thing that happens when we are really calling ourselves here and we're intentionally grounding our esoteric, our divine nature, our angelic nature, is that we have the experience of becoming um, more able to impact the energy around us. So we enter into this place where we are in the field dynamics of the space around us, and we enter into the wave nature. So when we're really sort of in this like 3D mindset, we are more grounded in Newtonian physics, and we're much more like a particle. We like are a thing, it exists here. But when we enter into our divinity, we ground it here, we become much more wave-like. And we are a transmission. We actually, and so that's we said we rejoice in our angelic embodiment. We were tapping that. That's part of that is like, oh yeah, when I ground my spirit here, it is a field of energy. And what I put into the field matters. and I actually can impact the field. So we become more intentional and conscious about being that which we are and about impacting positively just by our beingness the world around us.
Mhm.
I saw in the chat a request for question, and I'm wondering if that's a question meaning like there's something back up that we missed or something that can be asked a little later. Could you give me a thumbs up if it's for now, or and then a thumbs up if it's for later? Somebody asked if there was a question. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll definitely make space for a question. And I appreciate the ask for a question. Just wanted to know if we were to make space for that right now.
Mhm.
Didn't want to go too far ahead if it was about something that was already spoken. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
so as we are moving into this series, the series is about how do we live in this frequency of divinity? How do we
mhm,
ground now that we've tapped into this spiritual realm and we're really liking it? How do we bring that into today, into the everyday connections? Um, how do we identify what's happening in our environment? And it doesn't mean that, okay, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to seclude myself in my house with my candles and not talk to anybody. That way I don't have to dirty my energy. But it's not necessarily that. It's about becoming aware,
yeah.
becoming aware of how we are impacted and also how we impact other people. So for example, if I'm going to the store, I know that I'm going to be impacted by the energies around me. And so what do I do about that? And so one of the practices that I do is I build a shield around me, and all I do is send love to everybody because everybody is struggling in some ways. And so I just walk around sending love and focus on what I'm looking for and get out of there, right?
Mhm,
Um, but I also know that even a smile, even saying hi to someone is such a simple way of sharing our divinity. It's a simple way of sharing our love and impacting people around us.
mhm,
And so if we forget that we are this divine, then we are also walking around in the dark and with the hood on, just not connecting, not spreading the
mhm,
love.
mhm.
And the the gatherings are to remind you that you are the spiritual being, that you make an impact everywhere you go. That yes, life happens to us and for us,
Mhm.
um, but we also have the choice to see how we vibrate that and how we protect our energies, but also how we vibrate and love humanity, everybody.
Yeah. And Nancy's really speaking about this energetic of what happens in our biospiritual system. I'm going to break it down in this way. What happens in our biospiritual system when we are intentionally grounding our divinity? So this is we know this. There's research that shows this, that it actually fortifies our energy field, that the electromagnetics of us, of that frequency that we are, becomes way bigger. And so for people who do have sensitivities of, being around others like that, the more you're vibrating your divinity and the more that is strong, it's like a natural force field. And it's not just a natural force field like, oh, it keeps something not good out, but it actually goes out there and changes the world around you as you walk through it. And
Yes.
so you will have a different experience of the people at the restaurant or the person behind the counter or, the people in your family when you are operating that way than you will have if you're in the forgetting, or you're in the, maybe not in the forgetting, but just not in the intentionally bringing that energy forward. When we intend that, It also amplifies health factors in our body. I mean, like so many layers of what it does. And as Nancy said at the very beginning, when we do that enough, when we ground those higher versions of ourselves and the remembrance of that in our body enough, it literally starts to change our body
Mhm.
down to an activation of different strands of DNA that scientists have called dummy DNA. It's not dummy DNA. It's unactivated DNA.
Mhm.
And when we bring that soul light in more and more, and we ground it in more and more, it starts to wake up and we become a different kind of being.
Yes.
And we get the joy and the delight of that, and others get the blessing of that. Right.
Yes. It reminds me of this article that I read long ago where they did a study. A group of meditators went to the police in Chicago, I think it was, and they said, let's do an experiment. We are going to meditate and we're going to track how many phone calls you get because it was such a high crime rate. They were getting phone calls all the time, people needing help or murders or things happening. And so the police was like, yeah, sure, whatever, meditate all day if you want, I don't care. Like, and so, but they did. The group of meditators, there was only like 10 people. They started meditating with the intention of sending love to the population in Chicago. And the second that they started meditating, the phone calls dropped. They made such an impact. They were meditating for I want to say like 30 minutes. And for 30 minutes, the phone calls were like completely like the police was so shocked. And they recorded this. This was a real study. And so we don't necessarily have to be our best selves in order for us to influence our world. We don't have to have our life perfectly in order, have the best finances and the best health and all that to be able to make an impact in this world. All we need is intention. The universe does the rest. Soul field helps you with the rest. And so if you can remember that you are that, and you just set that intention simply to connect to that divinity of who you are, that's enough impact. And of course, when you gather with others, that's amplified as well. And we appreciate that you're joining us here
Absolutely.
and in the eternal now, in the recording.
And Nancy, would you mind pausing the recording real quick?
Mhm.
We paused the recording for someone who's live to ask a question, but it feels like it's something that would be beautiful to have on the recording. The question is essentially, when we speak it out loud, when we call it into being in the way that Nancy and I are doing today, how does that impact what happens in the body? How does that impact how it trickles down? And it is like probably many hours of answer, but in a nutshell, we can go. So Nancy and I were both raised Catholic, and so we reference things that are Catholic in nature or Christian in nature. And one of the things that I want to reference right now is the Bible. And it starts with, in the beginning, there was the Word. Right? In the
Mhm.
beginning, there was the Word. And the word called it all into form, called creation into form. And so our words are extraordinarily powerful. And what is the energy of the word is the sound vibration. And when we speak sound vibration in certain ways that are, I'll just say, beauty filled, truth filled, aligned with divinity, it literally organizes molecules. We know this from the beautiful studies that have been done with water and ice and the formation of crystalline structures based upon words. Our words and the energy behind them organize form. I mean, it's really powerful.
Yes. And I want to add also, um, there's information floating constantly all around us. And this information can be seen either in sacred geometry or in sacred sounds, hertz. And when we are activating our voice, we are creating a resonance that matches with that vibration. And when they have done a lot of studies where a person gets sick, the vibration of their voice changes, the hertz and the tone changes. And there is a vibration of sickness to the point that in order to bring that person back into health, they play their voice, their own voice when they're healthy, in order to bring the resonance to match and bring it back to that resonance, the
Mm-hmm.
resonance of health. And so our voice, either through singing or speaking, can match resonance, vibrations of any levels of emotions. And so it can go down from um, shame all the way up to love and communion. And that is possible through our consciousness being in tune with the essence of what those resonance mean, being
Mm-hmm.
in tune with the what the vibration of that energy means. So once we start expressing ourselves in that vibration, then everything that matches that vibration comes into life. Everything that matches that experience is presented to us in
Mm-hmm.
form, like Luminaria was saying. Now we start seeing how our DNA starts transmuting, our eyes start to shift, our environment starts to change, everything starts changing. Um, it's sort of like, thinking, I am going to trust that I'm going to get a parking spot. And just that intention puts ease in my body. I
Yeah.
speak it out loud and it puts ease in my body. And I say, hey, let's open this window, this door. I want to go there. Um, and and my whole mind, my brain, my mind, my body, my spirit, my soul is aligned. There's one line. There's no
Mm-hmm.
distractions. There's nothing else. It's just an alignment with what Source wants for me, which is everything for us. Source wants everything for us. And our connection that says, I know, I believe it, I know,
Mm-hmm.
versus vibrating into this other resonance of yeah, I'm saying this, but my whole body's saying this other thing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
that alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like a wormhole. We could keep going down and keep going down and keep going down. And we will unpack these more, over the course of this series. Today, we just wanted to kind of give like, okay, let's just touch the field. And speaking of cosmic consciousness, you can touch the whole field, the whole divine mind around that. And let's shift into meditation. Let's move into a space where we go inward and we receive. And today in the meditation, we're going to do exactly what we've been talking about. And also, we're going to give a little transmission energetically. So you may, if you decide to open your eyes, you may see us with our hands in the air. We're also sending some sacred support your way for this process. And so get yourself situated in whatever way you want to drop in for a good 15, maybe 20 minutes tops to just kind of
And as you're getting settled, um, imagine that there is this line, this light going from the top of your head, your crown chakra, and it goes all the way down your spine. And this is a straight line. So if you can either lay down or sit up straight, you can cross your legs in lotus pose or just keep them straight. But just to imagine that this line is going really straight through you. This is energy flowing through you. And so the more you can maybe tuck your chin a little bit and push your head back and arrange your body to feel the connection from all of your chakras opening up and connecting and lighting up. And then this light goes through you from the top of your head down, down, down through your each of your chakras, your spine, down your tailbone into the earth. And as it goes down into the earth, it's just opening up with roots to ground you into this moment, into this existence, this living. So you remember who you are today. You are grounded. As you explore the dimensions up, you are still connected to here and now. And imagine these roots taking hold very tightly and starting to feel the nourishment that is coming from Mother Earth as you're soaking the energy and the nourishment through the roots. This nourishment is moving up and is bringing all of this love and groundedness through the roots up your body, nourishing every cell of your body, every organ of your body is being nourished by Mother Earth, by this energy that wants your well-being. And it's replenishing every area that feels depleted. Feel this energy moving through every part of your body, to your fingertips, your nails, every strand of hair. Even your eyelashes are covered in this delicious nourishment, this replenishment, this groundedness. And with every breath, you surrender. You relax your mind. You relax your body to receive the nurturance. And notice the areas in your body that still feel closed or tense. Just set the intention to receive fully in this sacred space that we've formed here for you. Let your body adjust to receive this energy. Let your mind tap into the divinity of who you are.
As you're feeling this sacred embrace of the earth, literally feeling her feed you exactly what your physical body needs. Begin to allow your intention to shift. You continue receiving, but you begin to shift. And there's an energy that you're connected to. These other dimensions of your being, other dimensions beyond this third dimension, even the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimension, even higher than that, in the place where we might call the place where your master self, your fully awakened, illuminated, angelic, saint-like self lives. The part of you so fully in communion with the divine mind, so fully in communion with all that is, and in complete remembrance of all that you are. Begin to feel this sort of stream of silver light, like a thread, a silver thread that links you to this part. And that silver thread comes from wherever it comes from in your body. It may come from the crown or the heart or the base of the skull or the belly button. But you can feel there's this like place you can reach to, where you are fully realized in the grace of the divine. And all that grounding you did has opened your body to receive. And so when you're ready, you begin pulling that energy to your physical body. And as it comes, it's like you're the hot water and it's the tea bag. And molecule by molecule, it infuses you with the sacred remembrance of this angelic communion with the divine mind self that you are. And it infuses all the dimensions on the way to you, to the physical, and the physical too. So your whole biofield and your whole body start to become alive with your 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional beingness. And your mind doesn't even have to know what that is. You can just intend it, and it is so, and you can feel it happening. You can feel yourself becoming illuminated, becoming changed in the way that water is changed by the infusion of a tea bag. You are being infused by this master version of you. And you feel this energy coming to your physical heart and beginning to minister to the physical heart. It's like amplifying there. And it has the capacity to kind of plug into the heart and almost ground into the heart. This part of you grounding into the physical heart. And it's powerful. You feel it and you let your heart expand to receive it. You give permission for your heart to be changed by this encounter, by this infusion. And then the physical heart begins to help ground that divinity through your body, through the root, and through that beautiful root system that you developed earlier in the meditation. This 11th, 10th, 12th dimensional saint angelic resonance that vibrates so strong in your heart, grounding through your roots, anchoring in the earth plane. And as that happens, there's a whole new energetic in that root system and a reverberation of the mixture of these higher dimensional aspects of your being and your being grounded in earth start to vibe back up through that root system. And a whole different level of nourishment is occurring. And you allow that. And as you're allowing that, we're going to play our song for this series. And if and when you feel ready, the lyrics will be up on the screen, but you can stay in the internal space as long as you'd like.
I grew up in the desert, maybe that's why I start to panic when I start to cry. I've always found comfort in a life that is dry. Be strong for your brother, make sure you shine. Can't let him discover the world's dimming light. A small voice of reason sings over the light. Oh, beautiful, magical child of the universe, why do you punish yourself for what you are not?
Mm. We have a couple moments. We can pause the recording and turn the recording back on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in the meditation. It's just beautiful connection
Mm-hmm.
to the earth and to the dimensions of who we are.
Yes.
So we are excited to continue the series, and our next meditation will be on, let's see, what day is today? The 23rd. Our meditation will be on March 5th at 5:10 p.m. And our next soul feel will be on the 9th, March 9th, gathering. But if you are curious and want to, maybe not curious, but you're busy and you want to put it on your calendar automatically, you can head over to soulfield.org/calendar and input your information, and you'll be sent the calendar invitation. So it automatically populates your calendar. We have our YouTube channel, youtube.com/soulfield experience, where you can actually watch the recordings. If you are watching this on the recording, we either sent it to you or you are watching it on YouTube. And you're welcome to forward to those you believe will benefit from the experience. Life is, of course, incredible. Thank you for the donations that we receive. Really, really thank you. Every time you tithe and you gift to Soulfield, we are able to host events and help people and give back to the community as well, and support this the gatherings that we are doing here together. Yeah. So we'll close with our closing prayer. Close with the closing prayer.
We are deeply grateful to have experienced miraculous communion with our holy wholeness in the soul field. We wholeheartedly receive the upliftment of one another's communion and blessed soul light. As we close this formal gathering, we each in our own way will continue dwelling in the soul field and supporting our collective evolution. With deep gratitude, we thank one another and all our angels, guides, and guardians. Remembering as we minister to ourselves, we uplift one another. We encourage the magic we co-created to ripple out to all our relations for the benefit of all beings.
Estamos profundamente agradecidos por esta experiencia milagrosa de comunión con nuestro ser sagrado aquí en el campo del alma. De todo corazón recibimos la comunión de cada uno de nosotros y de la luz de nuestra alma divina. Al culminar formalmente esta congregación, cada uno de nosotros, de manera personal, permaneceremos en el campo del alma, apoyando nuestra evolución colectiva. Con profunda humildad agradecemos el uno al otro y a nuestros ancestros, ángeles, guías y guardianes de luz, recordando que cuando predicamos con nuestro ejemplo, nos elevamos el uno al otro y alentamos la magia que acabamos de co-crear para que se expanda a todos para el beneficio de la humanidad. As we are closing, I can feel that there is still some heaviness and some energies that are needing to be moved. And so remember that the Temple of Divine Perfection is always there for you, not just in this moment. You can release some of that burden in the temple. But also know that even as we close the gathering, you're still in the field. You're still with us. You're still in our minds, and you can still reach out to the group as well. And it does sometimes takes time to process this. So give yourself some time to explore the divinity and honor who you are and what you need. And so with that, we close the circle. We blow out our candles. knowing that the soul feels available to us anytime with desire.
Such an
Thank you
honor
for
and a
joining.
blessing to be with you all today. So beautiful to experience the connections that happened. Yeah, just we're always holding you in our prayers. Yeah. Mhm.